Hi, folks, and welcome into Tech Talk. My name is Anu. Today, I'm going to be talking to a gentleman named Jaideep Jain. Jaideep is CEO of a company called TAP Classifieds. Come join me. Jaideep, it's a pleasure to meet you, and thanks for being here today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So, you are CEO of a company called TAP Classifieds. TAP Classifieds is basically a SaaS-based platform that automates and it optimizes digital marketing of any type of inventory. Your focus is the automotive space, and your company works with about 250 dealerships across the United States. What I'd like to know is, what's the driving force behind TAP Classifieds?
The way millennials are buying cars today is changing. They make up about a third of the market, and that's the fastest growing segment in the industry. They do all their research online, and by the time they show up in the dealership, they probably know as much, if not more, about the car compared to the salespeople there. Dealerships are not really ready to market to this segment. Over 90% of the dealerships' websites are not mobile friendly, and millennials do all their research on their mobile device. That's where TAP Classifieds prides itself. We market our inventory where the shoppers are. We can market our dealership's inventory across classified sites like Craigslist, some of the new sites like 5 Miles and OfferUp. We also market to social media and search engines, Facebook, Instagram, Google, Bing, Yahoo, and so on.
That's a great idea because automotive content today is decentralized. So purchasers are going to various different websites to do their research. And the part about millennials, I completely agree with you because they are tremendously influential when it comes to online shopping behaviors. So it makes a lot of sense to me. I'd like to pivot here, and I'd like to talk about the beginning. You were raised in a small middle-class family in India. Tell me about your upbringing.
I think small middle-class family, my parents taught me the value of hard work and perseverance, but also the value of taking risks. My father majored in physics in his grad and undergrad, but then took a risk with a job in the technology sector that was not considered big at that time. It was a risk that paid off for him. Growing up in India, you only have two choices. You're either going to become an engineer or a doctor. Growing up as a kid, I loved math. I loved tinkering with things, figuring out how things work. So engineering was the obvious choice for me.
That's great. So you were clearly exposed to some tech with your father. Was that why you went into tech?
Yeah, I was privileged. I had early access to technology. The company my father worked for provided servers, server hardware, software, and services for enterprises. One of their customers was a horse racing club, and I got to witness when they were installing the system and when they inaugurated it. As a high school student, I started learning how to program in BASIC. And when I was 15, my father brought home a Commodore 64.
Wow.
I spent hours programming it, connected to a TV, recorded my programs on a cassette tape. Really impressed my father when I had it play a happy birthday tune on his birthday.
Oh, that's great. That's adorable. So how did you make it to Silicon Valley all the way from India?
I did my undergraduate in India in computer science. I wanted to study some more, so I came to the US to do a grad degree also in computer science. My thesis was in databases, looking at databases of different types, what we would call unstructured data today. And I was going to continue my research in databases with a PhD, but I visited Silicon Valley during the summer. I interviewed with a few companies, and one of the companies, the hiring manager, took me into a lab, and I saw the equipment and robotics I would be working with, and I completely pivoted. Since then I started programming embedded real-time systems and scheduling algorithms.
That's fascinating. Tell me about the first company that you started.
The first company was called Truvolo. It was a connected car solution. It was designed to make driving safer and smarter. A lot of the new cars today come with connected car features already built in, but there's over 250 million cars on the road that don't have that capability, and our product provided that. We were collecting data from the cars. We were also collecting data from sensors that were built into our device, and our predictive algorithms would predict if a car would fail. We also provided back feedback to the drivers if they were driving well. Our target market was parents of teenagers.
Of course.
And the parents always want to know how the teenagers were driving, and this is something that gave them a peace of mind.
Yeah. Okay. As an entrepreneur, what was the biggest setback that you experienced, and how did you overcome that setback?
The vision for our product actually came when my son got his driver's permit. I wanted to see how he would drive after he got his license. There was no good product on the market. We started looking at that product. We talked to quite a few parents who were in the same state, and we basically found a potential product that could work. It was needed. There was a big market, 250 million cars on the road. So we basically started building it. The initial part of it was good, but being a first-time entrepreneur is tough. You're learning quite a bit. The investors don't really believe in you as much. So when we went out to the investors, they looked at me and said, "You have B2B experience, not really experience selling to consumers," and they didn't invest in us. The product was going well. We did an Indiegogo campaign, and we thought it was going to be successful, but the campaign was not. So it was a big hurdle for us. But a year and a half into the product, we got an acquisition offer for the technology stack that we had built. So we took the technology, pivoted that to use it for industrial IoT, and then became successful there.
I see. And who acquired?
The company that acquired us is called Amantix.
Okay, I see.
And they make an industrial IoT platform.
I see. Okay. My next question is, who is the one person that has been greatly influential in your life?
I think a constant and an early influence was my father. He is a self-made man. He did everything on his own, took some risks, and was very successful. I learned from him the value of hard work, the value of not giving up, but also the value of taking controlled risks. One of the things he taught me was keep trying again,
right,
but try it in a smart way. Don't keep trying to do the same thing over and over again. Adapt to what's going on. And that's, I think, a valuable lesson that's helped me throughout my career and in my startups.
Sure, sure. Now, you have worked at very large companies also. I want to know what encouraged you to start your own company. What was the thought process, and how difficult was it?
I think Silicon Valley encourages people to start companies. In my company, the large companies before, I had managed business units. So I knew how to manage P&L and other aspects of a business. In 2013, my company got acquired. My wife's company got acquired at the same time. And this was about the same time my son started driving, so the product idea was there. We thought we had validated that with talking to a number of parents. The market was pretty big. So we basically, my wife, me, and one of our colleagues, we had worked together, launched Trovolo. The initial part of it actually was fairly easy. We bootstrapped the company, we started it, we created the product. We actually got some great press, and then we did the Indiegogo campaign. But after the Indiegogo campaign didn't succeed, we went out to some investors, and almost all the investors said, "Great idea for a product, I would be a customer," but they would not invest. And most of the time it was because I didn't have the background to run a company that was consumer facing, or they didn't think the market was big enough for this.
Sure. Okay. What is the best advice you have ever received as an entrepreneur?
There's a couple of them that come to mind. I think one of the ones I get from investors a lot is build a Tylenol and not a vitamin. So build a product based on what your customer's pain points are, and you're solving a pain point for the customer. Very valuable advice. Customers want to solve pains, they'll always buy the product. Vitamins, if something is tough, that's the first thing for them to cut. So it's a safe approach to build a product, and it works. Contrasting advice that I get is think outside the box. Be a visionary for a product that doesn't exist, and that's how you create markets or disrupt markets. Completely opposite advice to the previous one, and I think they both work. I think the second one is a lot more, it's riskier, a lot more difficult to execute, but when you do, it's much bigger payoff. I think the common thread between both of them, though, is when you start off with an idea for a product, it's not the first idea that's going to succeed. You always have to adapt the idea based on feedback from the customers. And most of the customers, they will give you feedback from them buying the product. They may say they love the product, but if they don't buy it, it doesn't succeed. So I think you really have to look at that. There's some small little ideas that always succeed. Finding that is critical. And I think that's the difference between a successful product and a product that has a potential.
Right. Jaideep, thanks for being here. It's been a pleasure. Wish you all the success. Folks, thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.